welcome to Great Conversations. This morning, I'm in great company with Matt Johnson and Dwayne Murphy, or as you know and love him, D. Murphy. Did I even get that right?
It's D. Murphy.
Sorry. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
So here's what we want to talk about this morning. I had the pleasure of seeing you gentlemen perform, and I was like, whoa, these guys are either on ultra caffeine or they are just high on Christ.
I tell you, Mark's been addicted to the caffeine. I don't know what that.
So let's roll back a little bit and start at the beginning. Matt Johnson, how do you currently classify yourself? Are you an entertainer? Are you a businessman?
I classify myself as recording artist / youth development facilitator.
Sure, we like that one. I hope you have a big impressive one like that, D. Murphy. D. Murphy.
That's what I'm thinking now.
Recording artist. Okay, top that one. How do you classify yourself?
I mean, I'm a recording artist. No titles on it. I mean, I do inspirational music, and I love God, so I'm a worshiper. So.
Okay, worshiper.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go further back now. Mark, when you were going to school, and as you get to a certain age as a kid, you're like, okay, this is what I want to be. What was this for you?
Strange enough, I wanted to be an architect.
Really?
Yeah.
You got skills? Do you even have skills like that?
Yeah, I mean, I did technical drawing.
Yeah.
I applied to UTech for architecture, didn't get through, so I decided, hey, let me do something somewhat related, which was land economy evaluation surveying.
I don't even know what that is.
Estate management.
Do we have that in Jamaica?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm building, so I need one.
Yes, you can get good discount right here.
Exactly.
All right, so you wanted to be an architect, and then when you didn't get into UA and you went to Plan B, and then what happened?
Well, after a year of doing LEVs, that's a short for it, I decided to stick with it because it would have made me more marketable. But the direct link with where I am now started when I was 7 years old. Started formal training in classical piano and just fell in love with music, and I've been passionate about music ever since.
Okay, so there was a desire in your heart to pursue music, but because you're a responsible son, you decided on LEVs.
Yes.
All right, D. Murphy, where did you start in terms of a profession that you wanted to do?
I mean, when I was in primary school, I wanted to become a doctor.
Look at that.
I
like it.
It fit,
Yeah, of course.
And it changed after a while. I mean, I started singing at that point at church, but then it changed to computer programming because I loved technology.
I didn't even see that one coming.
I know, I love technology. And when I was 18, when I just left high school, and I was thinking, all right, so I need to apply to UTech and I need to start this. And then I went to a studio and I saw the guys recording. And I got an opportunity right then and there to actually sing on the mic in the studio. I was like, wow.
I
like this. So I went back to church and I spoke to my bishop and I said, I think this is what I'm called to do. And I prayed about it and he gave me the go ahead. And from then I've been recording since, and I've been doing music. Work every now and again here and there. But it's
Define work.
As in, I've worked in restaurants, I've managed stores. The last job I had was I was a manager at a restaurant.
So D. Murphy, you don't consider being a recording artist work?
No, it's too sweet to be work. It's too good to be work. It's ministry, and it's not too the cliche. Oh, it's ministry, hallelujah, type stuff. But it's ministry. It's a daily walk. So even when I'm talking to you on the sidewalk, that ministry comes forth, and that's who I am. I embody that. It's not just singing some songs.
Matt Johnson, oftentimes, you hear of gospel artists, they're full of enthusiasm for what they do, and they're churning out these hits and they're doing well, and then you hear a little sidebar, well, I'm gonna kind of step over into the secular because people want to hear all kind of song and that kind of thing. Are you staying true to doing just gospel music?
It's funny that you ask. I'll respond by starting to say that I believe everything I do, I try to ensure that it has direct link to my purpose. And so I don't do something because it's just a thing to do or based on what the external forces or influences dictate. I believe I'm called to reach young people, and music is one of the ways in which I do that. So I try to pay very keen attention to what God is saying, what God is doing. If God tells me jump off a building, I just want to be sure that He says it. And I'm good.
And not the other voices.
And not the other voices. So, however, I think wow, that's a tough one, because whatever I do must be in alignment with what I believe God is doing, that God is saying. It must be in alignment with God's word. It must be in alignment with all of that. So me personally, I cannot wrap my mind around myself doing that.
Secular music.
Secular as in because that's where I'm going, because as a gospel artist, I see myself doing love songs. I've started writing a song for my wife already. I believe I should talk about some social issues as well, because the solution to social issues is God, straight up, without apology.
And you're ministering that to the youth.
Quite so.
D. Murphy, when you just described how you got into music, it sounded like you got a jolt of electricity, and you thought that was a calling, as opposed to a job. Could that calling take you into secular music?
Here's what I'll say to that. I'm not afraid to go into the secular world to bring my light to them. I'm not afraid of doing that. I think sometimes, and I get what Mark is saying, but I think sometimes as Christians we're so afraid of. I have a line in a song I have that says, "If you're walking in the rain, expect your shoes to get wet."
Okay.
We have to die daily as Christians, so we have to cleanse ourselves every single day, because we're in a world that we don't belong in. So we're going to get some mess on us, so we can't be afraid of that. So if I go into the secular world, for example, Kevin Dunswell, he does his music, he has not changed a thing, but yet the dude is on almost every secular flyer, because he stayed true to himself, and he's in line with what God is called him to do. He's doing what God has giving him the mandate to do, and then they will come.
But I'm hearing something different. Because the question you asked is, would I do secular music?
Right.
Not if I go into a secular environment. We live in a secular environment. We live in a secular world. So it's two different questions I'm hearing.
Maybe the next question should be, would you be performing in a Sumfest, for instance?
Forward, and let me say this. Let me say it. Yes. Jazz and blues, you name it. I look forward to that. I really look forward to that. So that's a different issue. Asking me if I would do secular music, to me, how I interpret that question is, am I willing to say enough gal in a bungle?
Okay.
Absolutely no.
Enough ladies in the church are plenty. They're there
in abundance.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we're on the same page.
The interpretation works for me now, because I remember the first time I heard, for instance, Pastor Al Miller was going to pray at Sting. Was it years ago? And everybody's like, he's a pastor. What is he doing there? And Al Miller was like, where else would I be? That's where the sinners are, kind of thing. And Jesus went into all that. Makes sense. But as a non-Christian, it might not make sense, because, as you know, non-Christians and the judge and Christians judge back and all kind of thing. So let's move forward. Are we getting our expenses dealt with as gospel artists in Jamaica? Let's start with Jamaica. Are we getting our expenses dealt with? Are we being able to afford the Benz and the BMWs that we want, and the big house on the hill that we want?
Well, let me dive in.
Dive.
You see, ministry / gospel music / gospel entertainment, whatever you want to label it. It has two sides. It has performance, and it has business. Because if you're calling me to do something and you're paying me, that's commerce, that's trade, that's business. So if we're engaged in business, we must apply business principles. Yes. We must apply business ethics. So, and of course, that involves exchange of value, that involves integrity, it involves a product, it involves the value of that product, the price exchange, that whole deal, that whole process. So as gospel ministers, gospel artists, as I said, whatever label you want to place on that. We must be aware of it and we must function accordingly, because at the end of the day, we want to reach the people. We want to remain relevant. We want to have that exposure on that stage and that audience, because those are the persons we need. So it must be sustainable. So we have to be thinking about these things.
Okay, D. Murphy, how you respond to that?
I think when what he said is kind of like the behind the scenes why we're not. So I guess the answer to the question is it is not being met as often. There's a few.
Why is that though?
Can see
is your talent your talent less commercial than the secular talent?
Sometimes the product that we put out is. It is not as sometimes we have good songs, but they're not properly produced. They're not marketed.
Why is it because the gospel team is less talented?
It's not
the story.
It's not so. I think it's on. There's a stigma on gospel that says once you put it out, you do the song and Jesus will do everything else. And Jesus will make you sell 1 million records. That is
it's
rubbish.
Like once you call the name of Jesus, if you love God, put your hand under the ear kind of thing. Everybody will put them under the ear because they're afraid.
Exactly. You have to do the work. I remember I did Jesus Arts in the Park, and I remember some execs from overseas, some recording company from overseas came over, and the dude asked, like, some of the young artists were asking, so how can we sell 1 million records? He went in his bag and he said, who has their product on them now? Everybody was like, I have like one in the car or so. He's like, no. He went in his bag, he took out one CD, said, watch this, you could have gotten a $20 sale for a $5 CD. But you miss it because we're not thinking marketing. We're thinking, why if I have a manager would have helped me do this and that. So we find all sorts of excuses why we're not. And even in the church sometimes that's the same case where we don't market ourselves properly.
Let's jump a little to Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make man in our own image and likeness, and let they have dominion over the earth. Over the earth. It means we have responsibility in the earthly domain. There are some things, God is not going to come down and wake you up and brush your teeth and bathe and powder. He's not going to, He's not going to drive you to work. He will protect you while you're going to work, but you need to get into that car, turn the key and drive.
You need to know how to drive.
But we have a responsibility, and I think as D. Murphy touched on, many of us expect God to come down and market the stuff for us.
Is the gospel artist less marketable than the secular artist?
That's a very deep question.
The secular has much more room to play with. They can write any song.
Are you being confined because you're a gospel artist?
By people sometimes, but to me, I'm not.
No. I'm not. You're not certainly not
restrained in any way.
More marketable.
Because I can't sing about this and I'm not singing about that.
As a matter of fact, I think they're equally marketable. Why? Because there's some access that secular music cannot and will not have. And there's some access that gospel music will find it difficult getting into. For example, and perhaps I shouldn't say music, but probably artists. It depends on your content. So let us use Kevin Downswell as an example.
Again.
Because of his content, his content has made way in events like corporate Jamaica, government luncheons and breakfast and prayer breakfast, as well as
rallies.
As well as fireworks downtown, some very big secular events. Somebody having an office thing.
So am I hearing that Jamaican gospel artists, Matt Johnson, D. Murphy, need to take a little page out of people like
certainly.
Why isn't it being done more then?
There are a few that's actually doing it, and that's why we have a few examples where we can actually call on, and they're actually paving the way even right now, so that we can actually see that it's actually attainable. So I think it's being done, but to a smaller scale. And I know a lot of great singers that really don't have a CD out because why? They really just don't have that pull or that desire or that support as well. Business, that's a key word. This is a business. And we have to treat it as such.
We're going to come back to that. Matt Johnson and D. Murphy, gospel recording artists. Don't murder me. It's too early in the morning for this. Folks, we're going to come right back with great conversations here on Mello FM.